Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Wednesday, the 1st of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How goes it, Joshua?
All fine, Derek. Nothing much to report. I've worn a top that's too heavy today in the studio, so I'm melting. But apart from that, all right. What about you? All good?
Yep, can't complain. Yep, the temperature is certainly cool down here. It's more overcast, grey skies overhead, and it's been raining as well. So I am happy as Larry, shall we say. That is much more my climate. So there you go. All things are hunky-dory, and there's plenty to discuss on today's show as well. Before we do just that, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, the great guys at Willows Fencing. If you need a new fence, people, and these are the guys to call. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade. No job is too big or too small. The all-important details are in the description below this video. Righty, let's kick off. Where shall we start? We'll start with, we had the story on the website earlier in the week that Sal Bibbo is departing to join Frank Lampard's Coventry City as goalkeeping coach. So Rangers on the hunt for a new goalie coach. And Chris has got a story on the website this morning. Drum roll, please. Alan McGregor is coming back to replace Sal Bibbo. So he will lead the goalkeepers, and one of those will be Ivor Pandur, with his signing confirmed yesterday evening. So he'll be in charge of Pandur. Liam Kelly as well. Redden Maguire is there on the books. Mason Munn as well. But the big news is Alan McGregor is returning. Of course, he had a brief stint when Barry Ferguson took interim charge, not last season, but the season before last, and he's now returning. Joshua, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's returning. As you say, the Sal Bibbo leaving, I think that was news we wrote on Monday maybe, Derek. I think that's been in the works for a little bit of time, and this has probably given Rangers the time to go and to go and work this out. I think it'll be a popular move. I think it'll actually be a popular move in the building as well. That's something I've heard a little bit of in the last couple of weeks. I don't think you can overstate sometimes when there's been so much change at a football club, when there's been sackings, when there's been different personalities, to have at the top of the club people who set the right atmosphere. And I think someone like Alan McGregor coming back, who has been there and has done it, and has been in that coach role before. Now he still needs to do his badges. I think he led to believe he still needs to complete them. Connor Brennan, who's another goalkeeping coach at Ibrox, will support him, I believe, in that kind of coaching process while he obtains those official badges. But I think it'll be popular. I think if you look at Redden Maguire out of this, young goalkeeper who we've discussed a lot, 17 years old. We reported a couple of weeks ago that Rangers expected to offer him a new deal. His expires next summer. And a lot of people I've heard say could be the next Alan McGregor in terms of coming out of the academy, wanting to stay at the club despite interest from elsewhere, and probably having the ability to long-term be a Rangers number one. So I'm sure he'll benefit from working with Alan McGregor. And Ivor Pandur, myself and Blair have spoken about it more for the Saturday show this week, and I'm sure we'll get into it this morning. I just think it's the right time for a change in that goalkeeping department. I think if you look at the top line numbers of what Pandur provided for Hull compared to maybe where Butland was last season, I think it makes sense. And I just really believe if you watched Rangers last season and the season before, I think they needed freshness in that position of the pitch, Derek. I think they need someone who is maybe just coming into the peak of his career, still has something to prove. And Pandur's certainly coming off a very impressive season at Hull City.
Yes, indeed. My thoughts on McGregor. He's arguably, for me, the greatest goalkeeper Rangers have ever had, certainly in my lifetime. He just edges it over Gorham on longevity, really, and that sort of stuff. But it's an interesting one, because I know when he hung his gloves up, I think he was quite on whether he would fancy a career in coaching, and he was quite adamant at the time, if on recollection, he wasn't going to go down that route. So I wonder if he's had a change of heart, perhaps. It'll be interesting to see him coming back and how he works with the goalies. He is a club legend, of course, but that doesn't sometimes translate to being a good coach. So very much hope that he starts in a very good coaching career at Rangers. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be a popular decision that he is returning to the club. Just on Pandur, Rangers confirmed that move yesterday, released a little short videos over in the US, of course, with Croatia, with the World Cup team. They said, I'm honoured and privileged to sign for such a big club with so much history. The club knows how to win, and that's exactly why I'm joining Rangers. I can't wait to hear the noise of Ibrox for the first time. Hope we'll be successful together. Derek McInnes says, we're delighted to bring Ivor to Rangers. He's a goalkeeper with excellent presence and a strong character. He's shown his quality. He's at a good stage of his career. We believe he'll be a commanding figure for the club. I'm looking forward to welcoming Ivor into the team when he returns from the World Cup. Now, Croatia play Portugal in their next game. I think Friday midnight, or it might be Saturday midnight. I think it's Friday going into Saturday, their game. So it's a fair chance they're going to get knocked out, perhaps. So he might be back for, well, he's going to have a bit of time off, you would imagine, the players that are representing their national teams, but he will come back at some point. And going by the reports from Hull City supporters in the lights, Joshua, he seems to have a decent reputation. Won one of their Player of the Year awards last season as well with Hull, was a major factor in them getting up into the Premier League. So on the face of it, with Jack Butland going the other way for £3 million, it's effectively Rangers shelling out £3 million for this lad. Good bit of business for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because Blair was just smashing an almond croissant out of shot.
What's he angry about?
Yeah, I know. Nice, just devouring it.
An almond croissant, yummy.
I know, top tier for me. Top tier pastry. See, first on the Alan McGregor point. I think sometimes we get too caught up in arguably the kind of extremities of you need every single member of the coaching staff to be a Rangers man, to come through the academy. And Ryan Jack, in his interview with Blair last week, said that about Steven Gerrard. He said, look, he wasn't a Rangers man, but he understood it fundamentally, and he had the ability to lead the club in the right way. And then we can maybe arguably, perhaps people of my description, go to the other extreme and say, it doesn't matter, just get the best coaches in. I think if you look what a lot of big clubs do, and especially clubs in Germany do this, Bayern Munich have done this a lot, is they use club legends effectively. It is important to have certain figures in the building, and I think, again, over the last couple of years, especially at points last season, Rangers have lacked that and they've missed that, and it is important to have that paired with really good coaching, which is going to be important. So that would be my overall take on Alan McGregor. It'll be popular in the building, it'll be popular outside of it. I don't know what makes a good goalkeeping coach, but I'd imagine that being a good goalkeeper is a good starting point, and if he's paired with another good coach, then that should certainly help things. And a club of Rangers size and stature does need that element, I think, in their staffing of people who've been there and done it. But to move on to Pandur, a few stats for you, if you will allow me, Derek, if I can read them off my screen. Do you know Hull went up? This is insane. Hull went up to the Premier League despite conceding the second highest expected goals in the Championship, which for people who hate that number is just they conceded the second highest value of opportunity. And a big part of the reason they went up is Pandur. He had the second highest goals prevented in the Championship despite facing so many shots. So in essence, if you're using data to judge a goalkeeper in a shot stopping, preventative sense, you're looking at, is he costing you goals or is he saving you goals? In essence, is the quality of his shot stopping doing that? And the reason you need to use data for that, Derek, is because if I take a shot at you from 5 yards with no defenders in front of me, compared to a shot from 50 yards with 5 defenders in front of me, the first shot is probably more difficult and probably tells us more about the quality of goalkeeper you are in this example, if you can keep it out the net. So on a pure shot stopping basis, I think those numbers are really encouraging. 26 years old, seems to be coming into the peak of his career. Yep. I don't think the strongest part of his game is when he's got the ball at his feet. I don't think Rangers necessarily need an outfielder in goals. But the game I go back to last season where I thought Jack Butland's kicking was hurting Rangers was the 2-2 Old Firm draw, where I thought on that day when they just needed a goalkeeper. It's not like they need a goalkeeper for me to always find the last man or be the best passer in the team. And you've seen, I think, shifts with this, right? Like Guardiola used Donnarumma last season instead of Ederson, who clearly isn't as good with the ball at his feet. The first thing a goalkeeper should be able to do is, of course, make a lot of saves. But I think, especially in big games, Rangers have been hurt in their build-up because they've not had a goalkeeper who can invite pressure, who's comfortable to do that. And the reason that's important is because then someone's going to press you and that creates a man elsewhere, right? And is that maybe the strongest point of Pandur's game? I'm not sure. But I don't think at the end of Butland's time at Rangers, I don't think he was doing that, nor was he a net positive in his shot stopping. Because if you look at his prevented goal stats won't call it goal saved above average, he was the lowest in the Scottish Premiership last season.
Yeah.
And I think he was capable of some brilliant moments. And in that first season, he was at the club under Philippe Clement. I remember the save he made at Rugby Park in that 2-1 win. And he was capable of moments where you went, wow, what a goalkeeper. How's he done that? But that slight fear of can he do it throughout the entirety of a season did seem to continually creep up in his 3 campaigns. And I know that was something that he'd maybe been accused of at Stoke. And as I say, if you look at the numbers last season, I don't think his shot stopping really was a net positive. And then you're looking at what else is he bringing in a real positive sense. He probably needed the move. I think Rangers needed a fresh start there. I think they need a new spine, and a goalkeeper will be a big part of that. And the deal, in part because of Hull's financial issues, because perhaps they didn't expect it to go up to the Premier League this season, it just opened up a potential there that seemed to work for all parties.
Yes, indeedy. This is an interesting point from David. He says, the only issue is our keepers only save every 15 to 20 minutes, so it's about higher concentration levels, so different from Hull. Yes, it is to an extent, and it will be a test of his concentration level. It's not easy being a Rangers goalkeeper when you can be idle for much of a game, but you need to be called upon and you need to produce potentially match-winning saves when required. So, but it looks decent enough. I'm quite happy with the signing. I'm also pleased, I said on the show yesterday, that it's a move that is materialised pretty quickly early in the window. Butland has moved on as well. So that was a key position for me that Rangers had to address this summer, and it looks like it has been. Of course, we'll need to see him in action. That's the big thing, but he comes with, as I mentioned, a decent reputation, a very good season off the back with Hull as well. Just deviating slightly, just when we're talking about XG there, James with an interesting point. He says, is there a human being been deciding the XG value of every individual shot in every game? Is it human beings or AI? A mixture?
Yes, as me, James. I do it for every shot. No, it's just an aggregator. So the way it's like a model, a data model that takes thousands of different data points and then decides on each individual shot based on all this data we've got in the background. How does that compare and what is it worth? And again, for doubters of it, the point of stats like this, and of course, the clubs, Rangers aren't going into signing Rangers aren't going into signing a goalkeeper and not looking at his underlying data. It allows you to. It's the same concept of if Derek, you're sitting next to me at a game, which we don't do that often because you're down south. Someone goes through on goal and he misses, and you say, I should score that 9 times out of 10. We have an understanding, a perception in our head of what's an easy chance, what's not. That's all this is. And for Pandur, in terms of these shot stopping numbers, we'll have a piece on the website about this that describes in a bit more detail. It's effectively lets you take away the bias and the noise and say, is he actually over or under performing based on the quality of shot he's facing? And even if you just look at it, it's a relevant point that the comment brought up a second ago. It's going to be very different for him facing, not that many shots comparatively to what he's faced at Hull. And I don't know how much is that an individual thing based on being able to remain concentrated throughout the entirety of a game. You'd like to think, you'd imagine that it's scalable and transferable if you've got a good goalkeeper at the base of things. I think he's also a little bit more comfortable coming off his line and sort of commanding his box. But if you look at the raw numbers, he faced the second best quality of shot in the Championship last season. Hull really shouldn't have gone up. I think he kept a clean sheet in the Championship playoff final and both semi-finals as well, Derek, which was, I think, the first time that had been done. in the playoff system. So his shot stopping numbers, which is the basis of things, look really good. Coming into the peak of his career, obviously broken into the Croatia national setup as well. Not first choice, but no shame in that. They're a good, very good team, aren't they? And Rangers needed freshness in that area. I think we spoke about it a lot towards the end of last season. It was arguably top of the list for me because I just really believe, having watched, obviously like all of us, Rangers over the past few seasons, that they needed freshness in that position, and they needed someone who was going to be that above average shot stopper, but also give you a little bit more of a platform maybe with the ball in certain games, because I think that's something that is underestimated when you go away to Parkhead or Tynecastle, wherever it may be. If you've got a goalkeeper who can just stay on the ball a little bit more, I think it calms everyone down. It creates space elsewhere. I think we've watched too many Old Firm games in the last few years where how Rangers have built up is just too often giving the ball back to the opposition and giving control away. And I don't think that's sustainable if they want to go and win a league title.
Yeah. The data company we use, StatsBomb, which a lot of football clubs use as well, leading data company. And I'm sure they've got... I've never seen a StatsBomb guy. I've never bumped into a StatsBomb guy, but they have all the sort of high-tech gear that you need to calculate XG, and it saves shots saved above average and all that sort of stuff. So I trust the data that they are producing, and it's a useful tool. But again, when you're scouting players, you need to have a look at them with your own eyes. And you hear when you speak to guys in the game, it's all well and good having the data, but if you're recruiting guys on data alone, then you're opening yourself up for trouble, because you need to have a look at all sorts of things, personality, how they warm up, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a whole myriad of factors that you need to assess before you sign players. So there you go. Chris gets in touch. He says that if anyone was going to smash an almond croissant, it would be Blair. So there you go.
I'm a big fan of an almond croissant too. Are you, Derek?
I am, yeah. I've not had one in a while, I've got to say. It is a treat, but I'm very much in the mood for one now that it has been mentioned. And pray for the almond croissant in that studio, is what I say.
Blair has a lot of qualities, but one of his greatest qualities is he often brings a nice snack that you haven't thought about or tried before into the office. And today it's almond croissants. Yeah,
so there you go. Blue Nose John, who tunes in from, I think it's from Frankfurt, he tunes in. He says, 40 years ago yesterday, the great Chris Wood signed for us. Yeah, Rangers have been blessed with outstanding goalkeepers, and let's hope Ivor Pandur is the latest in that line. He is Croatian, so that is an absolute given. He's going to be a rip-roaring success. I think we'll take that as read. Jack Butland, as we mentioned, departing now. He has posted on his Instagram last night with a message which reads, 3 years ago, I made a decision to join this great football club with no hesitation, and I'm so glad that I did. While it's been a roller coaster, I've always tried to represent the club in the best way I can, both on and off the pitch, and I leave with great pride knowing that I truly gave the fans, the club, and my teammates my all. To the fans that followed us everywhere, you are what makes this club so great. We created memories and atmospheres all over Europe, and the sound of Ibrox in full voice will stay with me forever. This is only goodbye for now. You've created a family of lifelong Rangers fans. Once a Ranger, always a Ranger. Me and my family will always be that. Thank you. And then it's got a Great Britain flag and a little emoji of a bear. And some of his teammates, Nico Raskin posted, Super Jack Butland in goal. Leon Balogun said, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. What an asset to the team you've been. I'm sure you'll be one for your new club as well. All the best. And there's numerous other comments wishing him well in his future endeavours, which will be at Hull City. It'll be interesting to see if he'll be the number one down there. I'm sure he'll be hoping to. Good move. I know that Hull trying to get John Lundstrom back on a permanent basis. Kieran Dell's down there. Bit of a Rangers reunion down there at Hull City, Joshua. Yes. But listen, I think Jack Butland, as you touched on earlier on, I think the time was right for a parting of the ways. Decent goalkeeper at points. He produced some really good moments. Certainly last season, Rangers avoided a number of major embarrassments, even more so than what they were enduring with some of his saves. But he was, as you touched on, the distribution was suspect at the best of times. And yeah, he's prone to throwing one in now and again, which it can't happen when you're at a club like Rangers. So yeah, your thoughts on Jack's goodbye, farewell message there?
Yeah, it seems like he was a very popular player in that dressing room, and I think to his credit, he said in that message that he tried to kind of uphold the standards legacy of the club whenever he spoke, and he was always someone who very good to deal with, and I think you could tell that he just carried himself well, didn't he, and played the role really well in public. And this time last year, he actually started the season really strongly. Don't forget that Philippe Clement basically, when he signed that contract before the 2024 season, effectively had a deal that the only player that Rangers could not sell that summer was Jack Butland, because he just thought he was so important. He'd had that dip in form towards the end of Clement's first season at the club when Rangers were obviously going for the title, and it all fell down just before the split. He then didn't have a great season the next season, like anyone, and Barry Ferguson dropped him for Liam Kelly for the final few months of the season, couple months of the season. Think of that Athletic Bilbao game where it was Liam Kelly and goals for both ties. And then this time last year, Rangers were trying to get a goalkeeper in this time last year. Carl Rushworth, who was at Coventry eventually and earned promotion, was one of those that they went for. Pierce Charles as well, a name that's been long linked, but I think as admirers slightly higher up the food chain as well, which made that deal, the potential of that deal, more difficult. But Russell Martin wanted a goalkeeper who maybe was a bit of a playmaker. But then Butland had those excellent games against Panathinaikos where he really kept Rangers in that home tie to get into the Europa League, which was really important at that time, and started the season well overall. I just never felt a dip was that far away. And the game that stands out for me last season was the 2-1 defeat at Tynecastle at Hearts, where if you look at those two goals, the first one comes from playing out, and people will say, yeah, of course, a goalkeeper, the first thing they need to do is keep the ball at the net. And that's true. But if you remember that goal that comes from a corner, I think Butland misplaces a pass, Rangers concede that corner, concede to a Stuart Finlay header, and then a few moments later he lets the Lawrence Shankland one in at his near post. Mistakes are going to happen throughout a season, and it's easy for us to isolate the ones that went in and not speak about the ones that stayed out. But I think if you look at over the course of the season, there's a very strong argument that Rangers needed to go and refresh in that position, get someone new. It's probably been taxing to be the Rangers number one over the last few years. You know, loads of managers, loads of different defences.
Not easy.
Probably not easy. And probably Butland would rightly say that the job of a goalkeeper is easier if you've got a solid back four in front of you. And Rangers haven't had a solid back four in a number of seasons, really, have they? So probably makes sense for all parties. He gets one more shot at going down to the Premier League to try and become the number one there for Hull City. As you say, it'll be interesting to see if they perhaps sign another goalkeeper to challenge him as well, and Rangers get a goalkeeper who's 6-7 years younger. Provides a bit of freshness in that area, and as we've already ascertained, is coming off a really strong and promising season in the Championship.
Wonder if Hull will feel the same, because Jack Butland won the Players Player of the Year award, didn't he? So they'll see him, and they know he's got a decent reputation down south as well. So I'm sure they'll be pretty satisfied. They won't be happy with Pandur leaving, but with Butland coming in, I'm sure it will soften the blow. And a point as well about the Rangers players down there. Saselder says that Matt Crooks too. Yeah, totally forgot about Matt Crooks. He certainly carved a decent career for himself down there. So Kieran Dowell, John Lundstrom, Matt Crooks in that Hull City midfield next season, Jack Butland in goal. I said to Blair yesterday, Joshua, no disrespect to the Tigers supporters, a great bunch of lads. They're coming straight back down, in my opinion. Thoughts?
I mean, probably, I don't know. But then last season, well, depends how much you spend, doesn't it? Because Sunderland, I think a lot of people thought they'd go back down, but they threw over £100 million at it. I don't know if Hull have that type of money. Ipswich have appointed Gary Neal, have they, I think? And who else went up? Coventry City under Frank Lampard. Ipswich
and Coventry. I think Ipswich and Coventry might do okay, you know.
Ipswich for me will be Ipswich are like Burnley, I think, where they're just up and down. They're that type of team. I don't know. I've not thought that much about how Hull will do in the Premier League. I'd be surprised if they survive. I don't think Hull fans will be clipping this up if they do survive. Maybe they will, but good luck to them.
Yeah, good luck to them indeed. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. Just a point here from Broxy Loves the Rangers Review. Says, Derek, someone else mentioned, where was the Rangers Dash show from yesterday? It didn't appear for me. It was a late change of plan. Johnny was called into an unscheduled meeting. So we moved the Q&A to yesterday, Broxy. So it was a Q&A show yesterday. We hope to bring you the Rangers Dash show a little later on in the week. So that is why you cannot see the Rangers Dash show.
What are you discussing this week? Because I heard they probably, and this is a achievement in and of itself, I heard probably the worst shout of all time on the Rangers Review yesterday
from Blair
saying that Joey Garner should have been a central midfielder. So what he's discussing this week.
We do like hot takes, but that is roasting hot, absolute nonsense from Blair, and he quite rightly got pelters for that yesterday. We cannot be having that. But Joey Garner was possibly going to be on the agenda because Johnny isn't having him. I don't think he was the worst player in the world for Rangers. I didn't necessarily dislike him. I thought he was okay in what was a real barren spell, but did a job for a period of time. But Johnny wasn't a big Joe Garner fan, so that was certainly one of the topics on the agenda, and I'm sure there'll be other things we'll discuss. But I'll hopefully bring that to you later on in the week. Joe Garner, for you, he's still playing. I think he's at Oldham now, if I'm not mistaken. Man of many clubs. He's been around the place. I know he done well at Preston. Left Rangers did well at Ipswich, I'm sure. I think Martin Marcon was there at the time, and then has sort of found his way. I think he was at Wigan. I seen him at Wigan. He was all right, but he was what he was. Rangers had a hell of a lot more problems on their plates than Joe Garner at that point in time. Moving on, and we've not had you on, Joshua, since the news that we broke yesterday that Scott Fry is departing for Birmingham City.
Yes.
He is heading back down the road. A pretty brief stint at Ibrox, but Rangers now do not have a set-piece coach. One of the talking points on yesterday's show was, do they need a set-piece coach? Who could they potentially bring in? But your thoughts on that development yesterday?
Yeah, this is for another day, but I want to come on the Rangers Dash show and debate some of Johnny's takes one day, because he one of the other worst shouts of all time I've heard is he's actually a real defender of Pedro Caixinha, and I believe he was defending Pedro Caixinha's away record a couple of weeks ago.
It actually isn't. Actually, I think I may be mistaken, but was he not unbeaten or something like that away from home?
Yeah, I know, but come on, This is anyway, flogging a dead horse. My thoughts on Scott Fry. People say that the set-piece goals slowed down towards the end of last season. That's only because they were so good at the start. Rangers averaged almost 0.5 set-piece goals per 90 over the season. It was 0.47, the same as Hearts. They need a set-piece coach. It made a material difference. You're never going to score from every single set-piece. Derek McInnes has worked with a set-piece coach previously at Hearts, so watch this space. We're digging into it, but I would expect that Rangers still try to address that, and I think it's important. I think it's absolutely something you need.
Yeah. Just before we wrap things up, a point from Jim. He says, where did Harry Forrester end up, Derek? I actually sat down with Harry Forrester for an interview, I think a few years ago now on the review. I'm not too sure if it was just a website piece, or I'm sure if we had him on the YouTube channel as well. So go and search for it, Jim. But he was over in the US of A at the time. I think Orange County or something like that rings a bell. But it was very good value, was Harry Forrester. Anyway, we'll wrap up there for now. Heads up for you folks, I will be back on this afternoon with Chris. The transfer guru will be giving us a transfer update. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Just after 3 o'clock sometime we'll be on. So don't say we don't spoil you here at the review. But if we don't speak to you, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, whatever you're up to. Big thank you to Joshua and each and every one of you in the chat. Remember, if you've not subscribed to the review, the channel, now's the time to do so. We surpassed 40,000 subscribers last week. So thank you for all your support. And yeah, we'll chat to you again soon. Bye for now.